Rover Group produced the first Land Rover and they launched at the Amsterdam Roadshow, Motor Show, as what we would now know as a crossover vehicle. And it started off with a vehicle that was known as the Land Rover. Because Maurice Wilks, who designed the Land Rover, he got the Rover Group to buy 6 of these ex-military Jeeps. They took them into the workshop, pulled them all in bits, basically pinched all the good ideas off them, and produced the Land Rover. So we've got 2 Willis Jeeps, I believe they're Willis Jeeps. There's also Ford-made Jeeps as well. Some say that Jeep stands for just enough essential parts. However, I'm not quite sure on that. But that is certainly the case with the early Jeeps. The glory of the Land Rover is that it's basically a giant Meccano set. This is how a lot of people get into the world of DIY mechanicing. Get yourself a Land Rover. There's lots of different accessories and modifications that you can do with fairly minimal experience. Also got the Range Rover Classic just going past us right now. And that revolutionised Land Rover in the form of getting it into the slightly more luxury market. However, that Range Rover Classic, the first ones that were launched in 1971, you could still hose them out. I dare you to try and hose out a brand new Range Rover. We're going to start lining the vehicles up fairly soon. We're going to get the Jeeps going round the arena one more time, and we're going to start with the Jeeps and try and get the Series 1 in at the side of that. Of course, when it was initially marketed, it was just the Land Rover. Then the Series 2 came out, which made the first Land Rover the Series 1. But initially it was marketed as the Land Rover because it was the only model that was made back in the late 1940s. Now, without meaning to bore you too much, there was the Series 1, the Series 2, the Series 2A, the Series 3, 90, 110, and then very finally Defender. The last Defender was produced in 2016. We don't talk about that new fancy one. At the moment, the last one was produced 2016, and it's very, very closely related to the very first, which is just driving past me at the moment. It's worked out reasonably well because that vehicle that's just driven past me at the moment, one of the very first Series 1s, is followed by one of the very last Series 3s before they went into the world of 90 and 110. So you've got the dead basic, and straight behind it you've got pretty much every option list available, and that's the V8 County Station Wagon. And it really is lovely, so refined. Doesn't even have that V8 burble. It just sounds extremely lovely and basically as it should have come out of the factory. Next I've got another Willis Jeep. I think I'm going to come up here. I think these signals are blowing that way. Great to see you. Thank you for fetching it in. So we've seen the 2 Jeeps. Now we're going to see the Land Rover, which is the product of the Jeeps. Well, not only is it wonderful to see them fresh out of the restoration workshop, also great to see them like that. And it just shows you've got that aluminium body, which tends not to rot. The only problem we have well, you can just about make it out. Who have we got next? Got a little Series 2A. This is the 88. I was saying earlier on about those. So we've gone from a vehicle almost pristine to, well, what on earth have we got here? Now, Land Rover produced a vehicle called the Discovery, and a lot of them rotted away, but they had a perfectly good engine and gearbox inside there, which made way for the older Land Rovers to be retro.
NATO went on to diesel only.
Now we are running slightly late for the parade of children's vehicles. Please bear with us. I'm hoping we've got some. We have, yes. We've basically got the thumbs up from the back. Now this is the start of Land Rover entering the luxury market, and this is see, a lot of these are built with V8s in, big thirsty 3.5 litre V8 engines, petrols, and of course thanks to that discovery, and also to be honest some of the earlier Range Rovers, you said it was a rock box. I just listened to that, that's a 2.25 litre petrol engine, iconic engine that the Rover Group produced for these vehicles. And Land Rover, they made them on a steel chassis, that's the bit that the vehicle is built on, and up to the almost concourse and show condition, so great to see you here, thank you. And with the military one, you will notice got more of a square back end on it there on the chassis, that denotes that it is a military spec vehicle. So a wonderful vehicle this. Really do like the Series 1 Land Rovers. And you're saying about that celebration down in English, it's called Red Dwarf Bay. So we'll start getting them out. Into the arena. Now if you're wondering what's going on, why have we got a truck in here when it's tractors? Well, this is basically a tractor. Variants of tractors coming in right from the crossover truck tractor with the Unimog. Got the Fordson Major from the 1950s, and that's a bit of a modification done to it. They were built with a 4-cylinder diesel engine. Keep going round, keep going round. Built with a 4-cylinder diesel engine. However, that just wasn't good enough for Johnny, so he went into local scrap dealers and managed to find a combine harvester. Now, the technology moves so fast with combine harvesters, they're only used for 12 weeks of the year. But there was a lot of combine harvesters that were out of date with a very, very good engine inside them. So taking the engines out of those, put them into the Fordson Major, Ford-derived engine into a Ford tractor, fits in reasonably well. In fact, it fits in very well and gives it back more power and torque. So there's a 6-cylinder engine in that Fordson Major when there should have been a 4. Makes it a fantastic tractor for all sorts of things, including going on the road runs. They're capable of about 30 miles an hour on the road. The iconic little grey Ferguson just going past me right now. You can still get pretty much all the parts for these little vehicles, and they're relatively inexpensive as well. Horticultural world down at the rollers, very looks like a John Deere. Single cylinder petrol engine in there. We've got the International B414, and there's two of these vehicles built fairly locally. There were 2 factories, one in Bradford and in Doncaster. I'm pretty sure that was a Bradford tractor, but I might be wrong. And another little compact tractor going past the commentary box, a Ford 1220. Now it does say Ford on the bonnet, and it is supposedly a genuine Ford. However, it's badge engineered. It's actually a Japanese tractor with a Ford badge stuck on. I'm telling you about the Fordson Major. Well, Fordson Major's little brother, and that's the Dexter. Blue tractor with orange wheels, named after the cow. Small and powerful, read it. A majority of the vehicles in here run on diesel. However, We have got a few petrol-powered vehicles, and one of them is a little grey Ferguson straight in front of me. Took a while to convince the farmers, which weren't that long ago, previously using a horse and cart, that a tractor with a petrol engine was a good idea. They were finally convinced that it was, and then some clown came in with a diesel engine. So once again they're like, oh, hang on a minute, you've just convinced us that petrol's a good idea. Is diesel, this newfangled fuel, good as well? So it did take a good few years for the agricultural industry to eventually move to diesel. Which of course, the agricultural industry is now pretty much based upon fully. So next we've got a Zeta. Now I'm not sure whether it's a Zeta or a Zeta. A lot of the farmers, all they could afford was a tractor, so once again they made the cabs massive so they could get the whole family in and take them shopping, take them to church or whatever they wish to do. You could get numerous passengers in there. I've driven a Zeta with 7 passengers in the cab. It is possible. So here we've got a field marshal just coming past the commentary box right now. Got a real sound about them, and if you sat on the floor and he comes past you, you'll probably be able to feel this tractor running as well as hear it. And they're on a single cylinder, 2-stroke diesel engine. But it's about a 4-litre diesel engine on one cylinder. And last but certainly not least is a David Brown 990. That's the most popular tractor David Brown ever produced. Right, let's get the Ford up first. Now, Ford made tractors down in Dagenham, nice flat parts of the world. As a David Brown man, I always think, well, Fords, they made them down south. Known as the TE20, TE Tractor England 20 denotes 20 horsepower. Now I think this vehicle is possibly TED. Now you think D means diesel, wouldn't you? But it means petrol TVO. So you would run this tractor up on petrol and then run it onto tractor vaporising oil, which to Pickering Fair used to take me 10 hours. I loved it, not so much for the cars that were behind me. So next up we've got the U. So next up we've got Johnny. I was talking about this track going around the arena, and this tractor would have started off life with a little 4-cylinder, well, little is fairly big. Now, one of the fun parts of that show as well, when you park up, it's a short walk from the car park to the showground. So that tractor is going to be pulling a road train. You'll be able to get on the road train from the car park into the showground. Next up we've got Sam. Now Sam is still, this vehicle is still working, isn't it? I believe you'll have come straight out of the field yesterday. Now you don't have to have a big fancy tractor to go out on. Those old David Browns that Sam uses still very, very reliable and more than capable of doing a day's work. Now we're going over the water now. This is a Czechoslovakian tractor, still fairly new. Now, if you went out to Czechoslovakia, you wouldn't see them that colour. Out in Czech, they're painted blue. Only the export models which come to this country and the rest of the world are painted in that colour. So we might think that we've got a little grey Ferguson next, however, someone just had a little bit too much red paint. Is this... Now right on cue, we were talking about the little grey Ferguson, built thousands and thousands of them, so it's absolutely fine to do a bit of a modification with one. This one is in... on the exhibitors, they get into the show, them and their family get into the show for free, as long as you fetch the exhibit. So buy yourself a little tractor or a mug or something like that, enter into the show, and it will get you free entry into the show for you and your family. You must get those 3-point linkages on every tractor that is sold today, unless you opt. Now Leyland, what do we think? When we think of Leyland, we think of rusty old Metros, certainly what I do. And wagons that used to rot out. These grey Fergies are dependent on what you want to use it for. Thank you. Next we've got a little Ford. Now this is, it says Ford on it, but it's actually all tractor manufacturers still producing tractors in the UK are New Holland. Next we've got the Alice Chalmers, the EV40. I like these tractors, I also like the colour of them. So Alice Chalmers was an American. Now going from what we would say so under-engineered to a vehicle that's over-engineered. Now the ideas were that tractor won't run with that exhaust on it, without that exhaust on it. It's a specialist exhaust designed for the two-stroke diesel engine. Now last but certainly not least, the David Brown 990. The David Brown 990 is the most popular tractor that David Brown ever produced. So he's going to get our tractors to drive around the arena. I'm going to try and remember a little bit about the tractors as we go past to relay the information. No, you were too late, Rocco. They're set off from this end. So once again, a huge thank you to all our tractor drivers for fetching them into the arena. I've got everything from the foreign, there's fairly modern vehicles to some fairly early ones, some very common vehicles and some very, very rare ones as well. So in the next few minutes we are going to be welcoming motorbikes into the arena. They're going to be coming in at 12 o'clock. So in around 15 minutes time we are going to be welcoming motorbikes into the arena. Right up at the front there we've got the David Brown 990. There's the Implematic, that one. Not too after that particular tractor was built, they went to a cream and brown livery. And they changed the styling from that rounded 50-60 styling to a slightly more angular 70 styling. And that was to, of course, move with the times and also get into the American market. There was a tractor company in America called Boland's that made little tractors, and David Brown, they had a word with them and said, we could do with introducing our bigger tractors into the UK, into the USA market. If we team up with you and use a similar colour scheme, that should help us into the USA market. Now, no doubt there was some money exchanged hands, and they changed the livery from that one that you can see there to their brown and cream livery, which copied the Boland's company, which already had their feet under the table there in the world of America. And that's how David Brown got themselves into the American market, simply by copying. bikes and trikes into the arena right now. Really fancy affair coming in. My goodness, look at these two. 3, 4. Wow. We'll get it for you, you'll carry on. There are plenty of taps along the back edge of the showground, or behind the large steam, all the way along the edge of the showground. Behind large steam, that goes right up to the very top up there. There are taps along that fence. Please ensure you remain hydrated throughout the day. We do have a full first aid service on site, however we don't want them to be too bogged down. So please remain hydrated throughout the day. It's a little bit windy, so it kind of feels a little bit cooler than it is. The last thing we want is you feeling over. Some fantastic motorbikes here. Just look at the one going past the commentary box right now. Very, very early bike. You can certainly see that that derives from basically a push bike up to some real fancy stuff. We've also got, I believe this is a sidecar club of somewhere. South Yorkshire Sidecar Club, that's the one. They come every year, and I forget every year. So back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, far easier to get a motorbike licence than it was to get a car licence. It's far more affordable. And the way to get your family around on your motorbike in a far safer fashion than just on two wheels, just to fit a sidecar. So, bit of a thing of the past now, however there is a very, very good following for the world of sidecars. And the South Yorkshire Sidecar Club, they come every year. They have a little bit of an encampment down at the bottom of the showground. They fetch their vehicles into the arena for us all to have a look at. They're also on stationary display for the rest of the time as well. If you like the world of motorbikes and sidecars, our motorbike riders and drivers like nothing more than nattering about their vehicles. You're quite welcome to follow them back to their stationary positions and ask any questions that you may have. And we are going to get them parked up fairly soon. So once again, this is where Rocco comes in, and Rocco is a new the engine is called Gordon, owned by John Cook of Lincoln, the Brasso kid. This engine was built in 1990. My father and I have done a lot of restoration work on it to bring it up to the standard you see it today. A new boiler was fitted in 2023. This engine is 35 years old this year. That's a 53, that's in the Genève. Number 9, just going past the commentary box right now. Type 2, a 4-inch scale general purpose engine, 2013. Names are Walt. Next up we've got Richard, and he has got the Horrell Cider Fodden Type C 4.5-inch scale. Now the full-sized version of this vehicle did used to go down to the Dorset Steam Fair. I was lucky enough a few years ago to see the full-size variant of this miniature steam engine. Next I've got number 19, and that's a McLaren Road Loco built in 2015. Weighs in at 3/4 of a tonne.
Number 40, is that this one? Is this, yes, this is Ruby, a 2-inch scale scratch build, so built entirely from nothing in a very well equipped workshop by a very well equipped engineer, built in 2024, known as Royal Chester. I'm not quite sure what number that is, but it's, I believe that is a, I'm going to say 4.5-inch scale. Yes, I'm getting good at this now. Fodden. Okay. That's built with a bus body on it, and a very similar vehicle used to go up and down in, I believe it was Whitby, a full-size one. Number 25, this is a Scania 24-volt truck, fetched in by the Smith family from Castleford. Oh, right. Four in. 6 inch, you'll be half size then. Right, okay, that's fine. That's half size. So we've got the half size Ural. I don't have the full information about that because that's in with the full sized steam information. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why is the half size stuff in with the full size? That's just how it is. Next up we've got number 13. I'm looking for some. The Burrell 4-inch scale agricultural traction engine, built in 2019, known as Nuclear. Number 12, a 4-inch scale traction engine, Foster DCC, built in 2003. That weighs in at half a ton. It's been fetched from Trowell in Nottingham. And next up is number 23, a 4-inch scale Fowler A5 general purpose traction engine, completed in 1996. Now you may notice these number plates on the back. This is actually a 58 plate, however it does take quite a few years to get these vehicles built. They may have run for numerous years without being registered. So despite being built in 1996, this vehicle does sport a 58 plate. And it's really quite unusual to see a steam engine that you would have thought maybe well over 100 years old tramming around with a 58 plate number plate on it. That one weighs in at 3/4 of a ton. Next up, just going past the commentary box, is Rocket, weighing in at 250 kilos, a miniature traction engine, a Savage make, known as Little Samson. There's number 26, the Fowler 4-inch gauge traction engine, 3-speed single cylinder, model A7, built in the year 2000. Next up we've got the miniature steam Foster agricultural engine, come all the way from Kirkby in Ashfield.
We're having a wonderful time here at Sheffield Team 2025. At 1:15 we're going to be welcoming our live team into the arena. I'm going to hand over the microphone to Telephone Derek Arena, who basically is Mr. Steam. He knows far more about the wonderful vehicles than I ever will do. I think he's going to take you into the world of a live team. That's about a quarterback. That gives me the opportunity to sample the electric sure. As far as I'm aware, that's a wonderful. We will be welcoming live team into the arena. Now please remain hydrated. Yes, it's quite windy, but that sort of masks the fact that it's actually very warm today. So please remain hydrated throughout your day. Not only is there water available to be purchased, there is also taps along the back wall of the showground. Little whistle off, have a listen to what these vehicles can do. Are we ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, give them it! There we have it. Thank you ever so much to all our drivers.
Richard was just telling me with the Horrell cider tanker there, it's 13 years showing, well, 13 years that that vehicle has been in attendance and 12 years officially showing it. But then he bought it, he fetched it back here on the day, on the back on the trailer, and the following year it was entered in. 13 years that the Horrell cider tanker has been attending this particular we always call it smiles per mile, and that vehicle certainly has provided numerous smiles per mile. Miniature drivers, fetching them into the arena. What a fantastic array of vehicles that we're having in the arena right now. Going to be welcoming large seating within the next few minutes. And of course welcoming the arena to the microphone. Full tour of the large steam coming up. That gives me the opportunity to reach across to the beer tent and sample what they've got on there. And I hope they're not queuing at that bar. It's a bar, not an ice cream bar. So take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Jim. We are Swallow Ratio. We go about the North of England. Trying our best to entertain you in these arenas, getting as many people in as possible and talking to them. We started off our quest at the Tractor Fest, which is up at Newby Hall. Did that a few weeks ago. Then we were at Emily Moore last week. Of course, we're here this weekend. In a few weeks' time, we're going to be at Aqua Steam Fair. That's the 19th and 20th of July. Fairly scaled back version of this one, but still a grand day out anyway. And that's out here, Pontefract, halfway between Pontefract and Wakefield. We're doing all sorts of things in the arena there. Then we've got a little gathering, 27th and 28th of July, out at Hackney Willow Field campsite. And that's at Hackney in Winchester here in Gainsborough. Once again, a steam fair, got a bit of tractor pulling going on there as well. To have a look around on the old Google Willow Field campsite, 27th and 28th of July. And they're included in your, I believe included in your ticket. You can't find a short walk away from the showground. There is a road train, you get to go on the road train to the show. That's 27th and 28th of July. And then, just before that, we've got the Aqua Steam Fair, 19th and 20th of July. It's not just me in this arena, we also have a bunch of stewards and they're running around the showground trying to get as many exhibitors into the arena as possible. So a big thank you to Lewis, to Amy, to Rocco, Brittany and Al for helping us with the arena. Let's just enjoy their one in the commentary box right now. We've also got a team dog who sleep at the side of the commentary box too. So it's not just me that's out here, we have as well as Raphael Tractor TV. We do have a YouTube channel which we haven't updated for a couple of years. But if you like what we do, if you like to see what we do at home as well, got a few tractor roads, build Sheffield, stuff like that. Follow us Raphael Tractors on the YouTube channel. Give us a look over. We're on discussing the other night. Gone through a bit now with it over the past few
going to pass you over to Derek now. Derek is an encyclopedia when it comes to the world of steam. It's my opportunity to have a quick look around the fair as Derek takes you into the world of large steam, headed up by this beautiful roller. Over to you, Derek.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see a procession of somewhere about 3 dozen large steam engines. Steam engines of this nature on the road take the form of steam rollers, steam tractors, road locomotives, steam wagons, and other types of steam engines, including power units. The first one coming into the arena this afternoon is a steam roller manufactured by the firm of Burrell, Charles Burrell at Sheffield in Norfolk. It belonged for a long time in commercial use to a firm at Walls, just outside Blackpool, and it's now in the ownership of Mark and Lorraine Woodbine, who also hail from the other side of the Pennines. It was built in 1904 and served the firm of Isaac Ball for a long time in commercial use. Following on is Paul Bloom's Garrett steam tractor, a 4 horsepower machine, built in 1918, and it saw wartime service in the First World War. These sorts of tractors, smaller than the road locomotive, which is the engine which is following on, were used for general haulage of smallish items, market gardeners for example, and other people taking goods to market. The large road locomotive coming into the arena now is owned by John Selby and Sons, as it's on the canopy side. Not the start of life. Back in the First World War time, the military at that time bought quite a large number of machines of that nature. They were used for hauling guns. A lot of them served in France and also in Belgium in the wartime. And they were used by Ministry of Munitions and other parties at that time for general haulage. And of course the problem was that, as you can see with this machine, smoke comes out of the chimney, and therefore the people on the other side, as it were the Germans, could know them from a distance and cause them to be hung in with the guns. And it was not very long afterwards that petrol engine tractors came into being, Holtz in particular from America, and the use of steam engines was then ceased. The next engine is another tractor. It's actually a conversion. Used to be a steam roller, and it belonged at one time to a gentleman by the name of Myers, who lived near Leeds. It's a Burrell, again made in Sheffield in Norfolk, a well-known manufacturer of road steam engines in the Gulf Valley. The large power engine following that Burrell is actually a Carling engine. Because underneath the actual boiler itself there is a winding drum. That winding drum contains a large amount of wire rope, and this engine worked in tandem with another Carling engine of the same type on the other side of the field, and it's through a balance plough between them. Once the balance plough got to the end of the field, whistles were exchanged at a distance of probably 300 or 400 yards. You can't communicate easily by shouting at that sort of distance, and the engine then knew when the power reached one end, and they changed ends as it were, and the other engine at the other end of the field pulled the plough back again to the originating engine. Another garage tractor, this one owned by Peter Green, called Lloyd George. This one was built in 1918 and was used in Showman, by Showman at one time, and eventually passed into preservation. We're going to line the engine up after the steer's direction, and then later, when we got them all into the arena, and there are something like 3 dozen of the engines, not all of them are coming into the arena though, but when we got them all lined up, the members of the public will have the opportunity to come in, take photographs for a short while before we ask the engines to move out of the arena and go back to their positions in the engine lineup, and then we can get on with other parts of the programme. Peter Green has brought 2 engines into the event this weekend. The second one is one that originated in Devon. The first one is a garage tractor. The Howler traction engine, which of course was used on the farm for the light work, getting on for one of the oldest machines here at Sheffield Steam today. The Howler flying engine just passing the township right at the moment. Is a Howler owned by the Fleer family from Curtin Lindsay and driven by a gentleman who most people on the road field know as Sparky. Sparky's looked after this engine and the other engine owned by the Fleer family for quite a long time. I know him as Gordon because that's his proper name, and he's not wearing his usual red overall. That is a regular participant in this particular organisation here. So the Tiger tractor, which has crept into the arena while I was talking about another machine. That one, I believe, is Robert Tyler, Rob Tyler's Our Tiger Tractor, 1919. Supplied to the military as well. And Rob brought it at a place called Hexington in Lincolnshire, where there's a 5-sail windmill, which is most unusual. He bought it as a sail, and at that time it was on a load of pallets. But he bought it, and he put it back together again, and it's now in working order, and it has been for quite a long time. I purchased it, I believe, in 1996. That's followed by an Eveling and Porter X-roller with shiny brasswork on the front and back, and a dynamo. When it was in use as a steamroller a long time ago in Kent, it had a tank on the front of it as well. the water, for the water sprinklers. It's been resurrected. James Hudson. They were built in 1912. It's got an OS registration and therefore it originated up north in Scotland in 1912. Made in Rochester in Kent. Rochester, or should I say Stroud, was the location of Aveling and Porter's works. Aveling and Porter built many steamrollers. In fact, they built more steamrollers than all the other steamroller manufacturers in the UK over time. Just passing the commentary point at the moment is the Fowler Tiger tractor I referred to earlier, number 19 on the list for unfortunately. Unfortunately, there's no program here, so it's not easy for me to identify which engine is which at any one time. But Rob is very used to this machine, he's driven it for quite a long time. Followed, as I said before, by Derek Webb's Aveling tractor, made in Rochester in Kent, or should I say just over the other side of the River Medway, in a place called Stroud. But the reason Thomas Aveling in 1880s chose to use Rochester as a location was of course because it was well known in the circles that a certain Charles Dickens was there quite a long time. Passing the commentary point at the moment is another Aveling and Porter roller. This one owned by Sam Jackson. He was here last year with it. It worked originally for someone called Francis in Bournemouth, hence its EL registration. Owned here by another Aveling roller, one which I'm particularly familiar with because it's mine. Owned by Derek Rayner. He, along with two colleagues, bought the machine in 1964. He now owns it solely since 1969, and it's been rallied almost both in Yorkshire and in Norfolk and in Suffolk since then. Driven by Derek's son Dean Rayner, crewed on this in this instance by Andrew Remington, and it's still going strong. Derek last year became 60 years an owner of this machine. Followed again by another Aveling and Porter steamroller. This one owned by Derek's son-in-law, Ian Porter, and Derek's daughter, Denise. Ian bought it from a considerable time ago. In fact, it was sold at an auction in Scotland 50 years ago to this day, in 1975. Ian has owned it for 20 odd years, and was built in 1884, and it's the second oldest Eveling roller in the UK. Recently fitted with a new awning in the style of the one that was originally on it when supplied to Acton Local Board in 1884. We're fortunate in that there is an illustration in a newspaper dated the late 1880s in that this particular roller features in this illustration very, very far away, but it did have an awning on it very similar to the one that it's sporting now. The Fowler small engine, which is following on, was owned until just recently by the name of the gentleman on the Amity side, namely Bill Lowe. But the present owner, Tom Saunders, who lives in Barnsley, has owned it for about 12 months. And he's just coming to terms with it. The reality is that it takes some more time to actually find out what an engine will do, how an engine will do it, and what it's capable of. It's a compound, so in other words there's a small cylinder and a large cylinder. It was built in 1927. I had a conversation with Tom this morning, and he's learnt a lot more about the machine than what he knew already. We've now got a Derbyshire-based engine, a Foster built in Lincoln. Lincoln and Leeds were probably the two main locations in the country for engine building of this type. This one's called Sprig. I can see that on the front, and therefore when you get close enough to it, you'll be able to see that as well. It's here because the usual rally goes to in early July. Is no longer in and so it's owned by the Boston family from Derbyshire, and it's good to see it here today because it's the first time I believe it has been here to Sheffield steam. We're now not going to see another power plant engine. It's the late old but not identical to the one that passed by just recently, owned by the Fair family for Lindsay. This one is named E-Frame, after the owner for many, many years. Built in early 1900s, 1913, thank you. Not got that written on my piece of paper in front of me, and I've forgotten. But thank you very much indeed to the gentleman up there at the time. As he said, it worked in Essex. It's got Lord Rayleigh on the back of the tender of the engine. And we've now got John Willie Custer, he said on it. J.W. Custer was a contractor in the Sheffield area. How the road locomotive is actually owned by Dave Norris, or should I say perhaps his wife, Michelle, and it's later, as I said, J.W. Custer. Custer was a contractor just outside Sheffield, and it's been owned quite a long time in this particular area. The Ragsdale is near Retford, as it says on the mechanical side of this barrel. And this is some barrel Showman's engine, 3703. It was moved to Wings heavy haulage contractors in South Wales, and it was here last year in a company with another engine that also works for Wings of Newport in South Wales. And quite a feature of the coming together of the two engines have not been apart, have not been together for quite a long time. Another Fowler coming past me, rattling considerably. One thing that Fowlers are noted for is gear rattle. Driven by the owner's husband, the owner being Mrs. McClurson, on the piece of paper. So we'll catch up now. James Penfold belongs to Mrs. Walters, Elizabeth Bettine, and is Fowler 1904. Mick was intending to be at the event with a steam wagon, a Garrett steam wagon, but unfortunately, said Garrett, unfortunately had a problem on his way home from a rally last weekend at Emily Moore, and he was unable to bring it, so he brought the Fowler track engine now. Coming along, an engine which has had problems today at the event, which is a Clayton and Shuttleworth steamroller, or should I say back up for Wilcox, who were later on from Clayton and Shuttleworth. It blew a tube a little earlier today, I have to say. Unfortunately, Mr. Siddall has managed to get a push by an enabling tractor. An enabling tractor looks a bit dishevelled compared with other machines, of course, at the moment. But that's a par for the course, I suppose, because that tractor was hauled up in a shed for 40 odd years, and it came out 2 or 3 years ago. They decided to keep it in its dishevelled condition to show what engines were like during the working days. The engine which has just passed the commentary point, the green one, is owned by David Palmer from Popperwick in Nottinghamshire. That again is an engine which is here and not at Elderston Castle next weekend, because Elderston Castle next weekend is no longer. But David very kindly brought it along here. Ruston Proctor, as built in Lincoln, and very well restored. The family has Ruston Roller as well, which has been around for quite a long time. David's father rallied these things way back in the early rally season, rally times, and it's good to see him here going back. Ruston Proctor agricultural engine now. Following on and just passing the commentary point is a Fowler Maroon flying engine. And again, it's got a boiler with a drum underneath it with a The Ponce brothers own 2 of these machines. The other one's not here at the moment, of course, because that is being worked on. But they were capable of having going in one side of the field and another going in the other side of the field, pulling the balance plough in between them. Very nice restoration, this particular one. It again was built in 1919 and therefore was supplied to the Ministry for agricultural use at that time. The Tiger Tractor 149 UG 1496, owned by Dave Cope from North Derbyshire. That again would probably have been at Ulverston next weekend, but it's here now. It was in commercial use up to very, very late because it was owned by Oliver Partington at Glossop. And he's in North Derbyshire in Glossop. And it was used at that time for haulage of products from Oliver Partington, along with another virtually identical Fowler Tiger tractor, a much later one from the 1930s. The other one, unfortunately, gave a lot of parts towards this particular machine to put it back into working order. We've now got a Fowler roller going past the commentary point, which you will note has a tank underneath it. This machine at one time was a tar sprain roller, and it carried tar on the tank underneath. It has an SA registration, owned by Ross Inman from North Nottinghamshire, and the roller used to have a tar sprain bar at the back, on top of the tank in front of the plough. The owner is a well-known traction engine enthusiast by the name of Mike Dreelan. Just like
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make some noise! Taking us through the world of large steam. Thank you, Derek. I know that we'll be speaking to you tomorrow. We're going to do it all again. We have a bit of a towing demonstration going on, and it's actually the little traction engine that's pushing the roller. not the roller pushing the traction engine. As you can see, there's no smoke coming out of the front one. Don't let them fool you. Our steam engine rise a little bit later on, so whether it's a penny or a few pounds, it'll be wonderful just to pop a little bit in the bucket before you get on one of the steam engines a little bit later on. Now the Beat family are still very much at the forefront of this show. Robert and Ian, both son and husband of Beverly, are still running the show right now. So a big thank you to the Beat family and all the members of the club. I can see a few commercial vehicles moving up there. Away from these vehicles to the park. We are Swallows, ratty old tractors. We try our best to keep you up to date and entertained throughout the day. Numerous shows up and down the Newton and the arenas try to keep you entertained as we possibly can. Try to throw a few silly facts and figures in there as well. We come all the way from Huddersfield, which is near Huddersfield. My speciality is tractors, so I'm here in Italy, I like to waffle on all about tractors. From the former David Brown factory over in Melton. And as a team, we come to these shows. We've got numerous stewards buzzing about the place trying to get the exhibits into the arena. And last weekend we were at the Emily Mall Steam Rally. Over here this weekend, and then in 2 or 3 weeks' time we're at the Aqua Steam Fair, which is the 19th and 20th of July. Not quite as big as this one, however it's a very good day. The 19th and 20th of July, we're going to do all again. Not quite as many steam engines, still a wonderful day out. And then I believe it's 27th and 28th of July, we're going to be at Willow Fields campsite. That's at Hampshire in Lincolnshire. Very, very close to Gainsborough. Well, we're going to be doing a similar thing, and I don't think we're having an arena, but we're going to be doing some tractor pulling. So I'm going to be on the microphone when it comes to the tractor pulling over at Willow Fields campsite. And that's 27th and 28th of July.
Yeah, well that's what I've walked in. It gives me a bit of inspiration to get that camper because that would be a nice and put the keys back in all that. It's like a race. Yeah.
Now we do have an ambulance moving around on the rally field at the moment. It's not the fire engine that's coming in, that is purely for display purposes, but we do have an ambulance, so please be aware that there is an ambulance currently moving around on the showground in its I've just been past the commentary box right now. It's a ERF. You won't see this configuration very often, known as a Chinese six-wheel. I'll be just going past the commentary box, just have a listen to that. Listen how refined it is, absolutely beautiful sounding. Judging by that number plate, I think that's the started off life in Scotland. Then we've got that V8. That's going to be very good now. That'll be a V8 in there as well, I would imagine. Big Chevy recovery vehicle. Beautiful Morris back into the world of UK manufacturing. It's good how we've sort of come all the way round robin the old village stores man that would have gone out doing the deliveries. And it's coming back into the forefront, isn't it, with all this Just Eat and all the rest of it, where you can ring up your local shop and they will deliver it for you. Usually in some sort of electric vehicle. Of course, back in the day, people didn't have cars to go shopping, so they would have rung it in via a wired telephone network.
and it would have been delivered to the door. That's one of the vehicles that would have done it.
Yeah, that were a race. The ways you were racing, that's what yeah.
Big old Scammell. Now, from what I can remember last year, I think there's a 14-litre diesel engine burbling away under there. Oh, this is great, we've managed to clog the arena up. I might have to start parking these up. Oh, he's on it, is Rocco. This is amazing. I've done what, is it 14 years of beating Kieran up and down the arena, and it's actually happening on its own now, which is quite nice. So we've got a new arena steward, and that's Rocco, who is parking our vehicles up for us. The little freight rover. Now, freight rover was a derivative of British Leyland that used many parts from Land Rover. And you'll be able to see the door handles, the wing mirrors, things like that, all shared with the early Land Rover Defender. Now, a lot of those vehicles used for the Royal Mail, and a lot of them rotted away. And just look at this. I do like an old coach, and especially the styling that goes with this gorgeous old Leyland Tiger. Just look at those sweeping curves. If I had the money and the ability and the facility to keep one of these, I'd certainly be rushing out to buy one. Phenomenal vehicles, these, absolutely gorgeous. Once again, another little delivery van. This been up in balance as my haulage. This is where it gets interesting, because we don't have a very big turning circle. We've got to try and get them round and back into here. Let's see what happens, especially that beautiful coach. Is he going to get round and into place, or are we going to have to put him further down on the bottom? Let's see what he does. While we get them parked up, keep mentioning that there is an ability to ride on our light steam engines a little bit later on, quarter to 4-ish. Come and see us at the commentary box. We're going to get some steam engines in, give you the opportunity to ride on one. All we ask is for a donation for Rotherham Hospice. So see, he's got the weight box on the back. Next vehicle, no weight box on the back, so that would have been towing a Swan nighttime trailer, which is what you would see like the motorways throughout the UK. Thank you. We've got a little ERS, come and see us. You won't see this wheel configuration, especially in modern trucks. This is known as a Chinese six-wheel. One drive axle at the back and two steering axles on the front. Is the coach in the Italian job. That's all Chinese thing. was a Volvo, so that's from Sweden. Now this vehicle had going to be no doubt going on the road a little bit later on, so if you live locally, I'm sure you're going to be hearing it going up and down the local streets. Thank you. Going back to something, shall we say, slightly more refined. This is the Albion. So a lot of these vehicles, they would have been built as what's called a chassis cab. Does what it says on the tin, it's a chassis with a cab on the front. It would have then gone to a bodybuilder to have numerous different applications. So if you want a cement mixer, a gritting body, a flatbed, a box, it's easier engine to work on. And you can tell that by listening to it. It hasn't quite got that V8 verbal about it. When you did drive in, I assumed it did have a V8 in, but no, it's a straight 6 as this one. Hey, they seem to like the American stuff here in Sheffield. I don't get this much American stuff. Thank you. So we're saying about the spec lift. Of course, that's short for spectacle lift. And that's where the front wheels would have dropped into something that looked like a pair of spectacles. And those wheels on the back that you can see on the body, they would have gone under the back wheels of the vehicle if the was lap of honour. Got that lovely whine about it that these vehicles have of that era too. Now, I hope you're on your best behaviours. So we've got the BMC. That looks a little bit like... So we've got Atkinson now. And as you can see, I don't think there's power steering in these vehicles, so we might be sending the others in the opposite direction. Driver saying there's definitely no power steering in this. So we've got an hang on, we'll send you that way. We'll send you that way. Our second camel in our lineup here at Sheffield, Steve, is this beautiful ex-military vehicle. And last but certainly not least is this beautiful little rolling tipper. This one says on the tin, it's called Sandra Gravel. The Leyland Comet. I do apologise for a few interruptions on the microphone. With the wind blowing down the arena, it's not quite getting to the radio mic that we've got in the commentary box. So sorry if we were cutting out a little bit just then. Thank you. Once again, a huge thank you to all our commercial vehicle drivers for fetching them into the arena. taking him to enjoy this wonderful weather. Please do remain hydrated throughout the day. As much as we want to promote the beer tent, beer is unfortunately not hydration. And so even if you enjoy the beer, also try and have plenty of water as well. Got our classic vehicles coming in right now, headed up by a little Austin 7, and only a few years ago was celebrating 100 years of the first production of the Austin 7. The one up there is a little bit later on, from I believe the mid-30s. I should know that because it's my parents driving that car, and they fetched it from Wingerworth in Chesterfield. Going from, well, we've got two people's cars. There's the little Triumph 1500 behind the little 1500 behind the Austin 7. So two vehicles that were made for the masses. There we've got the brace of mini minis. No doubt we'll find out a little bit more about those when we get nicer into them. Just look at that Bentley up there, the green Bentley. Now John's he's gone up a couple of pegs. He turned up a few years ago with a grey Fergie, and now he's rolling around in the lap of luxury in that Bentley. No doubt if we open the boot we might find the grey Fergie parked in there. Two Series 1 Land Rovers, got the 107, the long wheelbase, just going past the commentary box right now. And then the, what we got there, I think it's the 80-inch. How it all begun in the world of Land Rover. And we've got the interesting, the power takeoff on the back of there, which was an addition, an option, when you bought the Land Rover back in the day, which allowed you to use numerous different implements around the farm using your Land Rover. And that cowl that goes over the PTO shaft on that Series 1 is known as a cow's mouth. For obvious reasons. Mazda MX-5. Another iconic vehicle. Fantastic following. Numerous different marks of those as the years go on. Little Ford pop there from the 1950s. As they always say, that's basically a 1930s car but built in the 1950s for simplicity. Now we are going to ask him if he's ever going to throw a bucket of water over that car. We'll find out. There really is beautiful, great to see you here. Thank you. Next up we've got the Ford Pop. Now this is pretty much as original as you can get. Hopefully within the next 15 or 20 minutes, if you would like to have a ride on the steam engines, that is going to be happening in around 15 to 20 minutes time. We are having a little bit of chaos out in the car park. I've just had a note from the car parking team, and if you're lucky enough to own a BMW convertible